Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bikinis After Babies. This is our 15th episode, and I'm your host, Mandy Rashawn, here with your other beautiful blonde host.
Bikinis. Chill girl chat episode for you
Yeah.
today. We've had some amazing guests on and we have a nice lineup coming up, but we thought it would be good today just to catch up and talk about what's been going on for us and then share some tips with you guys about things that we found helpful. Today we're going to talk about birthdays and girls' night out and traveling and sort of how we navigate that on prep. So, Mandy, why don't you share with us how your prep journey is going? I know your show is right around the corner now, and you just celebrated your birthday. So, a very happy birthday to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I know I'm getting like the emotions coming because I'm in
Oh,
the month because
yeah.
it's March 5th right now.
Yeah.
And so I leave on March 28th and I will go to Florida to compete on March 30th. So it's nuts. I'm 4 weeks out now and
Oh my gosh.
it's crazy. It goes by so fast. Like I feel like just the other day I was like 24 weeks out or I was in my off season and then I blinked and I'm like, oh my gosh, like everything's booked and done and ready and you just got to fly out and like go, right?
Yeah. And it's
But
been a
yeah,
minute since you've been on stage. So, like, how are you feeling
yeah.
about making your return?
You know what's crazy is I am so excited. Like I feel like the excitement is taking over more than the nerves. And I feel like that's because I practice so much. Like I
Hmm.
practice posing all the time to the point where I'm like, okay, well, if my arm goes this way on accident, oh well. Like it's like I'm getting those jitters out. So it's like the
Hmm.
whole practicing posing, which I was always really terrible at. Like I would practice a little bit here and there, but I never like nailed it all the time. Like I treat it just like weightlifting.
Hmm.
So practicing constantly in my bathroom on carpet all the time, walking around, background music, walking back and front, all that. So that's helped quite a bit. But yeah, just really staying consistent. But no, yeah, my birthday was Friday. It was super exciting. I turned 35 and it's funny, I made like a birthday post and I don't know if you caught this, Jillian, but my first little hashtag was NPC Masters.
Yay. Welcome to
I,
the Masters Club.
I thought that was so funny. I was like, it's like the first thing I thought of.
Yeah.
But no, it was really chill. It was really quiet. Um, I really just relaxed. Lifted in the morning, spent time with family. It was just really kind of, relaxing birthday, nothing too exciting. Um, but yeah, I've just been, grinding and counting down the days and just ready to go. So,
Yeah. That's
but
awesome.
you had a very busy weekend. How was your weekend? You had to fly out to
Yeah.
Dallas.
Yeah, we flew out really early on Friday for big cheerleading competition. So it's called NCA, and it's one of the big like all-star competitions. And we've been to several big ones before. This is like our third year doing all-star cheer with my daughter. She's 12, and but it was massive. Like there was, I think, like close to 1,400 teams. It was a 3-day event, and Dallas itself is really big. And so just like even the traffic was, I mean, 10 times more than I'm used to. And but it was really really fun. I'm 13 weeks out now, I think. So, and I've been in prep since the new year, just needing to take the time to come in how I want to. And then
Mhm.
also, I had some gut issues last year, so I wanted to make sure that I was like taking a long and slow approach to prep, but it has like really flown by as well. So there's no time to spare. That like doesn't mean that I can cut corners or like slack off at all. So, the day before, preparing all the food to take there, and I pack healthy stuff for the kids as well, and
Mhm.
being just away from home, like having all the things that you need. So and when you get to those convention centers, like a lot of times you're kind of there for the day. Like the hotel is
Mhm.
miles away, and then you're parked, and so you're sort of just like, what do you have access to? So making sure you have enough water, and if you have supplements that you have to take during the day, if you have meals that you need to take. So just kind of planning that so that I can not focus on myself. I can focus on my daughter
Yeah.
and be there for her, and and do the thing and be a part of it and not be stressed. So that like is a big thing we're going to talk about today, is just,
Hmm.
how to prepare. But we had a great time and we came back yesterday morning. So I have what you would call like a cheer hangover. So
Yeah. It's like
like
no
cheer moms.
alcohol involved, but
Oh,
just
it's
like
just,
exhaustion.
yeah, and like the emotions of it too, because they compete over 2 days, and the week leading into it, they had practice every night after school, and sometimes staying at the gym late, and then getting all of
So it's
their
like their own little
uniforms
peak
put
week.
together. Yeah, they do, and they go out there and we scream and yell, and we wear all the team gear, and carry around these huge backpacks all day. I think over the course of 3 days, I got almost 50,000 steps.
Yeah, that's
So,
nuts how many steps you get.
yeah, it's a ton because the convention centers are really big, and then you're kind of
Yeah.
spread out. You're going from hall to hall, and then we also cheer on other teams from our gym, and then we have hours in between performance and awards. So then we'll go walk and find something to eat and sightsee and whatnot. So it's a very active, busy weekend. So it's no surprise I had like a 3 pound drop while I was gone. But what I'll say is that it does that took effort, like, because if you don't
Yeah.
take your meals and stuff, all you have access to is just what they have, which is like pizza and Dippin' Dots. And so I try to share when I can what I take, and it's so busy.
Hmm.
Like I would love to do a real day in the life. I don't know how these like
It's so
TikTok cheer
hard.
moms do it. It's so busy, like from getting there on time and parking and finding the meat spot, and then it's
Hmm.
exciting. You want to be present and involved and whatnot, but just from getting up and getting training in and working on posing, and then getting ready to go over to the competition. So it's a lot, but I think I've got it down to a pretty good flow of packing everything, putting it in little baggies. And we got a TSA pre-check. My husband and I did it a couple years ago, and I don't they never go through my cooler bag when I fly with food. I never have any
I've not had
troubles
a
at all.
problem with flying with the cooler recently. I can't remember. It's been it. I can't remember the last time I flew. It was relatively recent. I think I was going to expedite a show, and it was when I was just getting like into my like prep, and I was worried about that because I hadn't had to fly with a cooler. I've been able to pack stuff and get stuff, and I drive a lot of the places. I like to drive. I like
Yeah.
to road trip. And I was so worried about that flying, but shockingly, like I was able to bring like a cooler bag and I had like some type of ice pack, and I was able to pack all my stuff. And I also don't use Tupperware when I travel for length of
Hmm.
time. I'll pack like a thing of Tupperware to use as like something to heat in, like if I don't have access to a plate or a
Yeah.
napkin. But I'll baggie all of my stuff. I'll divide all my stuff. I try to compact as much stuff as I can into like a little thing. I remember one time I was walking past one of the drug dogs, and I had like mass amounts of chicken in my bag, and I was like, I mean, they're trained, but like
Yeah.
this, like I have it like, and I mean, my chicken was right by their nose, and I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. Of course, nothing happened, but I was surprised how much stuff you can take with you on a
Yeah.
plane whenever you're
I
like in
take
prep.
everything on my in my carry-on pretty much. Like I'll
Hmm.
usually have like my backpack, and if I'm traveling for a show, then like my suit and my shoes and my jewelry and my hair extensions will all be in there. And then my personal item, or like purse or whatever, is like a small like soft-sided cooler. And then everything is I freeze everything because I have had ice packs taken off of me. And generally, like if I'm going anywhere, it's typically a domestic flight, so I'm not in the airport for hours.
Yeah.
If I just freeze everything in like freezer baggies, and then like I have something to like a dish or something that I'll heat
Hmm.
everything up in, so that I'm not eating out of baggies and whatnot. And then I'll take one meal inside of my like Hot Logic, which is like a little portable like food warmer, and it only takes like 30 minutes for it to warm up a meal, even if it's frozen. So I'll just find a spot in the terminal, plug that in if I have to eat, or
And
eat
you
it
can get
cold if
those
I
on
have to.
Amazon. I've had those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I've
and
used
I've
those
stayed
before.
at hotels that don't have a microwave like anywhere in the hotel. Or if you stay at a bodybuilding hotel and they have like a microwave suite, sometimes there's two microwaves and like 30 athletes all in there at one time, like trying to heat their food. So I just like to have that just in case.
Yeah.
I always take it, but it also like serves as a cooler as well. So like when I went to the convention center, I had a meal in there that I could just plug in. I had to unplug a cheerleader's cell phone because every kid never has a charged cell phone, I swear to God.
I
Um,
know.
so, but that and like, if
Always.
I'm like farther out, like in my off season, then I still take food with me, but I'll take like protein bars or things like that. Right now I'm not eating things like that, so I don't take things like
Yeah.
that. But there's ways to do it. I think I always take food, no matter how far my show is, just because it's important for me to feel good. I don't want to like have all these trips and things going on and then come home and just feel like a bag of shit for a week. Like I want to come back
Right.
and feel great. And my nutrition's pretty important as an athlete. So it can be done. And
Yeah.
so it just
I feel
takes
like
make a
I feel
list
like when
and
I started this prep, like, because I started it so long ago, if you think about it, and I've always
yeah.
started long preps. Like, I just like it that way. And
Yeah,
when
me
I
too.
first started, I didn't know any better. I just was like, oh, it takes a long time, and so I just did it that way. And then of course you learn that you can grind a prep out if you like want to or
But
have
don't you
to.
feel like you panic if you ever have to do that? Like even
I've
me, I
never
have
done
so
it to
much time.
myself.
I
I
feel
won't
like
do
even
it.
now, like I've been in prep for like 10, 12 weeks and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like too soon, right? Because you're so used to having more time. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know, I prefer it that way too. So I'm just like you.
Yeah. So, but I'm the same way with food. Like when it comes, I think our thing is like you have to really know your why are you doing this? And that has to be really loud in your head, like your personal goals. Because like when I started this prep, it was back in like September. It was after Labor
Yeah.
Day, like officially per se, because I came back from a family trip in Florida and I was like, I'm ready. Like I'm just ready. And I had lifted heavy. I had followed like a lifting plan and not a nutrition plan. I made my own like plan and did my own stuff, but like weightlifting wise and lifting heavier and heavier, I did that. I followed a plan for that. But going into this prep, I back on my nutrition plan, everything, and I don't I don't care how far away I am. Like I don't care if I'm 8 months away from the show that I'm going to do. Like I will pack my food. I will do exactly what my nutrition plan said. I will not snack. I will not accidentally eat this. I just don't do it. And a lot of it is just because I know I want to be able to go on stage and say like I did everything I possibly could. And if I lose, I did everything I possibly could to win
Yeah.
though. Instead of
Hmm.
like, ah shit, I shouldn't have ate that cake or birthday cake or lied to my coach or hid this or snuck that. Like because at the end of the day, like you're always gonna know what you do, even if you don't tell
Right.
anybody. Like there's no secret. Like you're never gonna have any secrets. Your body's not gonna hide it. But I mean, we all slip up. We've all had accidents, especially as new athletes, and that's fine. Like I think it's just having that mindset of like, okay, I slipped up and I ate these cookies. I don't need to do that again. I need to not do that again and hop right back on my nutrition plan. And
Right.
that needs to like be it. But no, so when I started back in like September, I packed all my food. I was communicable with my coach. Every time I traveled, I let my coach know because you never know if your travel is going to affect your check-in.
Hmm.
So even if you do everything perfect and you pack all your stuff, I still will let my coach know like, "Hey, I'm going here. I'm doing this. I'm running around, just like you would let your coach know, like, hey, I got all these steps because I went to this place.
Right.
Um, but if there was ever some situation where I'm like traveling out of the country or if I'm like going somewhere that's important, like I went to the Smoky Mountains in the middle of a prep and it was a romantic vacation. I wanted to eat out. And so we planned for that.
Hmm.
I packed my food. I still had my food. And then I had like a few stacks out and a few meals out. I was also months and months away from my show. I still weightlifted. I still walked a ton, drank a ton of water. I had all these things. I don't drink alcohol. Um, I but I still would enjoy food and time with my husband, but still try to do as much stuff as I possibly can that's incorporated in my prep.
Right.
So I
It
just
can be
don't.
done. I think like the
Mm-hmm.
overarching theme is that like it's a lifestyle. I think we both are on the same page that like at any point in our fitness journey, there's some consideration for what is our working out schedule going to look like leading up to the trip and then while we're gone. Um, what about our supplementation? What about rest and
Mm-hmm.
recovery? And then what about food? Like you're not just an athlete when you're in prep. If this is something that you do, you're thinking about it year round. And I think that's okay. And I think that if you don't think that's okay, then this probably isn't for you. And that's okay too. But for a while I kind of used to like downplay what my off season looked like because I wanted people to think I was normal and like I wasn't obsessed. But I'm not obsessed. I'm focused. This is something that's
Yeah.
important to me. And just because the countdown is 41 weeks or it's 10 weeks, there's some thought, care, and consideration to my nutrition and my training all
It's
the
self
time.
care. At the end of
It's
the
self
day, it's
care,
self care. Like,
100%.
it doesn't matter how close you are to this stage. Like you said, 10 weeks, 40 weeks, you still should take some consideration to what you put in your body. How is it going to hurt your stomach? How is it going to help your stomach? What are you showing? How do you feel your mindset? Like, that all is a form of self care. We're just choosing to step on stage and be more competitive and, I'm blanking on the word I want to use, but like, you know, challenge it differently. But everybody should still have like the thought of like, okay, I want to cook my food so I can eat healthy. I want to make sure I get enough water in. I want to, move my body because it's, good for me. It
Right.
should be some consideration.
I think so. And I think that if you don't understand, I think that's okay too. Like, and there's some people who do a great job of like maintaining a nice healthy balance and like they'll make great choices while they're traveling and they're fine and they're healthy people and they look great in their clothes, they don't have a weight issue. I think that's great. What we're talking about is just something different. Like we are, our bodies and our performance is really important as athletes, and so that's why we put that care and consideration. But to me it's not a big deal. Like it's not a huge hassle to like meal prep and put things in baggies and take it with me because it's just become necessary for my sport. It's what I enjoy. And I was just telling you this morning, like I didn't have any cravings while I was gone. And it looks different all the time. Like when we were traveling for cheer earlier in the season and I was further out, I wasn't in prep yet, I still took like 90% of my food. I was allowed to have a cheat meal when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
I had a little bit more flexibility this time. No, I wasn't allowed to do that because I'm a little bit closer, and that's fine too. I still went. I'm not going to not go. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. And I got my workouts in. We got a day pass to a really great gym, and I trained with my son on Friday, the
I saw the
hotel gym.
pictures. That was cute.
Yeah, it was so great. It was such a good gym. It was really fun. And like that's again, like I'm obviously a fitness nerd. I like, when I'm in a town, if there's a notable gym that I've heard of, I want to go check it out and, play around on all the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went to Metroflex in Plano, which was amazing. So yeah, I think it's just a lifestyle. And you might not understand. And I had gotten a few conversations going with girls in my DMs while I was gone, just about like, what do you do when people ask you about what you're eating and like, how do you manage? And if you're new, like, please ask us those questions because we love to share our advice because it took some trial and error. And I've definitely picked up little tips and tricks from people along the way. And the biggest one is I use they're food safe shampoo and conditioner bottles. I got some heat about using shampoo containers for my ranch and my sugar-free barbecue
Oh,
and
I was
my
like,
creamer.
what?
Like, yeah, so I use like travel containers for my
Mm-hmm.
condiments. So you can carry them on because you can't
Yeah.
have more than like 4 ounces. So I have like a little shampoo
Oh.
squeezy bottle that I put like my sugar-free barbecue sauce in, and then I have like another one that I put my almond milk in for my coffee. And somebody was like, "Oh, those aren't foods." Like people just have an opinion about everything, I swear. Like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you can't use those, they're not food safe." And I'm like, let me check. And then sure enough, it said food safe. So I'm like, I can't be the only one who's putting barbecue sauce in their shampoo bottle. Jerk.
There's just so many clever, like, there's so many clever, like,
So
different
yeah,
ways of
there's so
doing
many like
things.
hacks and tips and tricks of like things to do that make things easier.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, but yeah, I think that there's definitely questions, if somebody doesn't know like that I compete, and I have to say like I'm a bikini bodybuilder, or I think we might have talked about this with Nicole
We
too,
did.
like, but I think it's more common now, certainly like when
Mm-hmm.
bikini first came around, I went from a figure competitor to a bikini competitor, and I had to be like, so it's like bodybuilding, but it's smaller, and we wear bikinis, and it was harder in
Mm-hmm.
2009, but now everybody kind of knows somebody who's done it before. Like, I'm certainly
Yeah.
not the first one that they've ever met, and they'll say stories like, "Oh, my friend, her husband competes, and like he drinks
Mm-hmm.
egg whites, and he drinks out of a milk jug and does all this crazy stuff." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. Like, I don't do that." But
Yeah.
I think it's cool when people have an interest in it. I like talking about it, but you can definitely, like, you can read the room and be like, people don't think it's cool, or like, they think it's weird or they hate it. But I will say I'm pretty fortunate in that the cheer moms are like very supportive. They think it's cool. And I don't have that peer pressure or like, why are you doing that? Or, the
Yeah.
opinions.
I feel like this day and age it's changed quite a bit because I have that too in all of my circles, but it didn't start like that. Because so I feel like as we get older, we obviously like everybody's getting older and we hang out with older crowds. And I feel like the ages of like 30, 40, 50, they're so much more welcoming to like healthy choices and lifestyle change
Yeah.
and moving your body. And it's like they want to know more. So even if they're like overweight, they've never done it, they have no idea how, they're like a lot more like people are more welcoming of it. Because I know in like I don't travel, I would say, as much as you do for cheer. Like when I travel for soccer, it's mainly like a day. Of course, we have tournaments, but it's not, I don't think it's as extensive as like what you guys have to do. I pack my food. I do like really exactly what you do.
Yeah.
I just keep all my stuff in a little cooler, pack all my stuff. My saving grace is always stevia. Like I swear, if you are ever around me, I will always have like stevia in my purse, in my car. Like it's
You
always
are
with me.
like a coffee girl, though. You really are. Every time I
Coffee
see
and
you, you
tea.
have,
I drank
yeah,
decaf all last night. So last night I had an event that I went to. My husband hosted a big event here in Kansas City, and I had to bring all my food. And I always like to keep it really simple. That is probably another thing,
yeah. That's a
and
good
why
tip too.
I like to cook my own food. I I feel like there was this wave of things that happened where it's like, oh, here's healthy cookbooks. Great. Here's 30 ingredients and
Yeah.
here's the time
So much
consumption
work.
that it takes. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know why that started. I just don't. Like, if you have the time and you want to cook something really integral, like, super cool. I love cooking shows. I love to watch, like, the competition stuff. But I also know it is some salt, pepper, garlic, onion powder, maybe some ranch seasoning packet on some
It
chicken,
can be
and you
so
call it a
easy, and it
day.
tastes like the way that it should. But I
Yeah,
agree with you. I've seen these
like,
crazy elaborate, and I'm like,
it's
that's not
expensive.
doable. It's expensive. It's so hard when you're a busy mom to be able to like cook a recipe like that for your, like,
Hmm.
if your food is high maintenance. But I think that's really like more of like, I don't really like healthy food. Let me make it taste like a pizza. And it's like you kind of
Oh
have
my
to
gosh.
be okay with eating plain food, because, and I
Right.
totally am. It doesn't bother me, but yeah, when it's high maintenance and it's a million ingredients, then yeah, it's a whole thing. It's way too much work.
So I always like to keep it very basic and I live off seasonings and herbs. So chicken, ground turkey, lean ground beef, steak, and salmon and whitefish here and there. I'm not a big shrimp person. I like shrimp. I just really don't eat it that often. But
Yeah.
like I have the seasoning kind of, Italian, Cajun, ranch, taco, burger, like salt, pepper. You have your seasoning kind of like spread out, and then you can make all of these simple proteins taste like all of these different things. If and like you do the same thing with vegetables, same thing with some, simple carbs, and it's like super easy and it's only a few ingredients. And
Yeah.
that is really like how I do my everyday life. And that's how I do Carson's as well. Like whenever Carson, I like to incorporate him with like all of my stuff, and that's something we've talked about before, is normalizing eating healthy. Instead
Hmm.
of normalizing going through the drive-through, which is not good. Normalize cooking at home or seasoning your food or showing your kids that you're cooking at home. It doesn't take that long. It's not. And he sees it and he eats salmon, rice, asparagus. He'll have,
Hmm.
a turkey bowl with me. He'll do turkey wraps. He'll do just all sorts of stuff. And we go through things that he may not like, and we have a rule for him, and I've shared this with other moms. If you're trying to get your kids to eat healthy, give them a sweet potato. Okay, give them sweet potato fries. Let's say, oh, they don't like sweet potato fries. Okay, well, before you say you don't like something, try it a few different ways. Try
Hmm.
steamed sweet potatoes, sweet potato casserole, sweet potato fries. If you don't like it, then I won't make you it anymore. And that's like the rule in our house. If Carson tries things like a few different ways, and at the end of the time he doesn't like them, then I won't make him eat it. He tried, right? So we've gone through that, but I always try to incorporate him. And then kind of I've been able to have refeed meals right now. So
Hmm.
now it's been really fun because those complicated high maintenance things, I'm like, okay, one of my refeed meal rules is that I don't eat dessert out. No refined sugars out. I cook or bake, whatever, a protein dessert at home. And Carson loves it. So
Hmm.
tonight I have already like setting protein ice cream and I have protein brownies I'm making and then like I'm making like a protein cookie for myself.
What do you
But
put
he's
in it?
excited to
You were
um
telling me this morning you were baking. What do you put in it?
so the two recipes I found, well, for his protein brownies, they actually already come like kind of pre-made a little bit, but it's one of those like the flowers and things. I'll have to like send it to you or like we'll make sure to
Is
post it
it like
on
a
here.
mix that you
So
buy at the grocery store?
for his brownies, they're like the PB2 brownie mix. I'm trying
Yeah.
that new one. But for me, and that one already has like it's really simple ingredients. It's already put together, but like I have to do like all the liquids. But for me, it's going to be like a scoop of protein. Oh, what was it? It was like protein, oats. I have specific chocolates I use. And then it was like only four ingredients. I know it wasn't bananas because I get sick of bananas. Um, there was something else like almond flour and something, but you cook it in the air fryer is the
Yeah.
video that I saw. And so you use parchment paper and you make this like kind of dough ball, just like a
Yeah.
big cookie, and you put it in the air fryer. And that's what I was going to do tonight.
Yeah.
So, but I
Yum.
incorporate them to like normalize it. So that way it's like, okay, well, instead of going and eating like not this great food, like my mom's going to make this at home. Like
Yeah.
last week I did a protein carrot cake, which
Yeah.
will is on my vlog, which I will share today or tomorrow. Tuesday, something like that.
Sounds good.
Yes,
Carrot
and
cake.
I used Greek yogurt and I made like Greek yogurt protein icing because it's like cream cheese on like the carrot cakes, but
Yeah.
I made like a Greek yogurt and I used like a little vanilla protein powder and made an icing for it.
So you do get a little bit fancy sometimes when you get to
Only with these refeed
spend the
meals. Yes.
calories. Yeah.
Yes, because
That's
it's
nice.
it's fun for me because I like to cook, I like to bake, I like to challenge myself, but it's so few and far between. Like
Yeah.
I haven't had so my last flexible meal, refeed meal, whatever we want to call it, was back at the beginning of December. From then, I stayed 100% consistent on my plan up until Valentine's Day was when I had a refeed meal. So what happened after Valentine's Day? I had all these rules that I followed. Right? No dessert out. I don't drink alcohol. I eat vegetables before I eat anything else. I really don't do bread. I might have like literally a bite, but like when I say bread, I mean like the bread baskets.
Yeah.
But if it's like what are they called, like a bruschetta or something like that, like I'll
Hmm.
eat that or like a little cracker. Um, High protein for my main meal, scallops, fish, stuff like that. Scallops have been my
Yeah.
go-to, and like maybe risotto and veggies. And then when I get home, I'll walk around, let my belly settle, and then I'll have like my dessert. But what happened is we did this, and my body loved it. Like my body responded so well. I was
Yeah.
down in weight, my waist shrunk, I was really tight. My coach was like, "Well, let's just do this again because this was pretty successful." And then it happened again. And then so now we're doing it again. So it just keeps happening. But I have the same consistent rules. I have
Yeah.
to drink a lot of water. I have to work out the day before cardio. I have to work out the day after. No alcohol, no dessert out. It's just been really fun. So that's been like my very first prep where I'm not sitting on the couch resting and just like counting it down because you're doing cardio and it's just hard. We all know it's hard. Like the last like
Yeah.
5 weeks are hard.
Yeah.
You're
There's a
getting
lot of changes going on in your
so
body.
much.
And if you're listening to this and you're new and you just listened to Mandy say how she gets to have these refeed meals and
That's
get
not normal.
leaner, it isn't it and it isn't. Like I
Mm,
think that first of all, it's high level, and so don't attempt that thinking it will help you break through a plateau. And if you're coaching yourself, I think that you really have to know your body to be able to implement your own refeeds. That's why we have coaches. But I can tell for myself when I get to that point, and refeeds are great. They're a tool. They can really help
hmm
you. They also can be not, if they're not implemented properly, then you're not gonna they're not going to help your body do anything. I think it gets to a certain point in your body composition and in your prep after you've been training long enough that a refeed does actually accelerate fat loss. It does help with training. It does just move things along, and it's a phenomenon that's like really difficult to decide for each individual when that could be, because I'll get sometimes people ask me what's your philosophy on cheat meals and when do you implement refeeds, and it's so
Yeah.
different for every person. And even for me as an athlete, it's been different every single prep I've done. It's been different where it's been something that has helped. It's been something that, didn't make an impact at all. It was maybe done for more like emotional or psychological purposes of like,
Yeah.
hey, you've been doing this a long time. This will help you mentally push through if you're becoming really food focused. But I think what you're really saying is that your experience in this prep, and it's probably because you've been at this a long time. You did start in September. We're now in March. That
hmm
now, like with your body composition and where your metabolism is, like this is helping your body progress and make greater changes. And so I think if someone's hearing this and they're like, oh, well, Mandy gets to have a refeed every single week and she's losing body fat, it's, you have to consider the entire picture of
Yeah, and
what you've
I
been
and I
doing.
want to preface two really big things. One, keep in mind what I said before. I only had a refeed meal the beginning of December and not until February.
Months
So
later.
and
Yeah.
that's through holidays. That's no drinking. That's the same. It's the same sleep schedule, same lifting, same consistent food. And when I say consistent food, I mean consistency. Like if I find that
Hmm.
these proteins, veggies, and carbs agree with me, that's what I eat. It's that black and white. Like it is 100% that black and white. I don't even try to, as I get closer, I don't even try to experiment with different things. That, and also my off season, I just put on a lot more muscle than I've ever had before. And so that is also a new adventure for me with this prep because I've gone through many preps where I don't do a refeed meal. Like I just flat out don't do it. Like you said, I've eaten something different than my prep because maybe I'm on vacation and I'm stuck. I forgot my food. I was new at this too before. Like I would forget something or not pack something. But I have a lot more muscle and it's it's not only a different it's like it's just a different body style. And so my body's reacting completely different than it's ever reacted. And so
Yeah.
between like the discipline and the lifting heavier and the muscle composition, it's just what's happening. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's not I don't think it's too common to be this close but and do that. But if you're like you said, everybody's different. You never know. You always want to talk to your coach. Always, always, always communicate with your coach. They need to know what's
Yeah.
going on.
And I think also you're saying like you have some pretty set guidelines about that refeed meal. Like it isn't like you're just going to go and there's no structure to the day leading into that meal. There's no structure to the day following. There's no structure or guidelines with what you eat. Like you have a way that you train leading into that day, and then how you supplement and the water that you drink that day, and
Yep.
partition those calories later in the day that you can spend them on that refeed meal. And then the next day looks like there's some, a lot of detail and thought that goes into it. It's not just like, oh, just go and have like whatever. Because I remember 100 years ago when I first started bodybuilding. I always do that, don't I? I always say 100 years.
You do. You're
You're
like
like,
a little
oh,
dinosaur.
she's 144 years old. So a really long time ago when I first got into bodybuilding, there was this phenomenon and talked about in gyms and among coaches, and it was like a cheat day. And it was legit from the minute you woke up until the minute you went to bed, you ate whatever you wanted. And
Nuh-uh.
yes, this was like probably the early 2000s. And the idea was that that was, going to be good for your metabolism. And all it did was just kept you where you're at, because you
Mhm.
would, be so structured and have all this, the discipline throughout the week for 6 days, and then you had one day where you just ate like an asshole, and then like you're spending the next 3 days burning all of that off. Like you put yourself in such a surplus that it doesn't really help. It doesn't
Mhm.
get you any fat loss progress. And that's kind of where, like, when our clients will talk to us about weekends and how weekends are their like downfall. If you fall off your diet on Friday night and then you continue to just eat whatever on Saturday and Sunday, but then Monday morning you get right back on, and then you're frustrated after a certain amount of time that you haven't lost any weight, like you've really
Mhm.
only been in a deficit for a few days. Because if
Yeah.
you go over for 3 days, it takes about 72 hours. I'm just guessing. I mean, not guessing, but that's being very rough in general. But about that time to burn through that food before you're now into a deficit and you're able to actually burn body fat. So if that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, burning through the food from the weekend, and then Thursday you're back, in a deficit burning fat Thursday, but then Friday night you're out doing whatever, you only burn fat one day that week. So
Mhm.
when you're talking about your refeed, how much of a surplus are you going into? Not that much. Like,
Mm-mm.
you have dinner calories that you can use, and
I
then
actually take 2 meals. Yeah, I take two
yeah, so you
meals.
have the calories of 2 meals. So it's really not setting you into such a surplus that it's impossible for your body to, make progress. I think what's happening is it's stimulating your metabolism. And then the next day you have a great training session, your body tightens up, it loves the food. So, and your coach is taking it week by week, check in by check in. If it wasn't
Yeah.
working that way, she wouldn't, be recommending that. So it's
Well,
very individualized.
and you have to be really mentally you do have to be mentally disciplined because I'm not going to lie, like
Yeah.
I like there's many times I was talking to Carson about this. There's many times where I'm like, okay, well, I do my check-in on Monday morning and like she tells me like, okay, like you can have a refeed meal and I do a carb cycle too on a different day. But if I know I can have a refeed meal, I am not gonna lie, my brain automatically as I'm like making my kids food and like I'm like, oh well if I eat this, is it really gonna matter? And it just happens so
Yes.
fast and it's like you can't think like that. You can't. Like if you just go at it and just like, oh, well, I know I can have a surplus of calories because I can have a refeed meal. I'm just going to snack here and snack here and snack here. And it's just, you're going to lose track of it. And it's not going to be
Yeah.
structured and it's going to be messy. So the scariest part, and this is maybe why I started like having all of these guidelines with it, is because I created all of those myself. My coach was just like, this is what you do. And I was like, but what happens if I like lose my mind, like lose my shit and
Yeah.
like just, oh, I want this and this and this and this and this. Okay, what's going to happen to like my gut? What's going to happen to how I feel the next day? Am I going to get sick? Am I going to get like is something going to like not feel right? I got to do check in. What if I'm like 4 or 5 pounds up, like hot mess, stomach ache, don't feel good, got to go to the gym. I still have my cardio I have to do. Like I don't want that. That's not sustainable for my goal. Like
Right.
that's not. At the end of the day, it's like you got to prioritize your goal. And so if you structure yourself to be successful, then you have all of these things you can do. And I feel like sometimes being structured and disciplined gets such a bad rep because it's like, "Oh, don't you
Hmm.
just wish you could do whatever you want?" I'm like, I did whatever I want when I was in
Yeah,
my early
done that.
20s and
Yeah.
it didn't work well for me.
Yeah.
And of
All
course,
that
those
does
thought,
is stress me out. Like, there's
like,
enough chaos and craziness in my life with my big family. Like, I'm like, no, I'm good. Like,
and
no,
how
I
fun
don't
is
feel
it
that
to
way, but
structure like and how I'm sorry, but like how many times do we talk to women and they're like they they're burning the candle at both ends and they don't even know how to sit down and watch a movie because they're running around like crazy. But if you actually
yeah.
structure everything and organize everything to the best of your abilities, okay? How great is sitting down and watching that movie for two
Yeah.
hours, like hanging out with your family and just knowing that like there's nothing to do for that 2 hours except like
Mhm.
hang out with your family because you structured everything. Whereas like you're trying to make yourself sit on the couch and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to do this and this and this, and you're running around with your head chopped off. Like, are you ever actually relaxing? So it goes back to like, okay, is being structured really that bad?
Yeah, I think that it's just, in your personality type. If you feel like, too being too structured is not how you like to live your life, then that's totally fine. you
Yeah.
shouldn't tell somebody that they should be less structured if that makes them happy. I think for me, like I love the structure because then, I can truly focus on everything else. I don't
Hmm.
have to think about what I'm eating. I don't have to worry about what time I'm going to the gym. I know when I go to the gym, I know when I'm eating. My groceries couldn't be easier because I know exactly what I need. And when I'm running out, I know exactly what to get. So I feel like I've positioned myself to make it something that isn't selfish because I'm not thinking about it. Like I don't really have to worry. My coach tells me to do, I do what he says. I don't have to think about it. Also, I think by staying structured, I don't have to worry about catching up at the end because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. Like, and then eating into family time because I have to do extra cardio or I have to train more, or I'm miserable because I'm starving because I fucked around and didn't do what I was supposed to do. Like the structure
Right.
just honestly makes it easier for somebody that's got a busy family to be able to be successful in this sport. But I don't know. I think it's funny when people will just knock that, and but that's probably just because they can't picture it for them or they don't have the same goal, and that's okay. Like this isn't for everybody, and if you don't understand, I think it's just kind of like you know you don't have to knock somebody for wanting to do that.
Many of soccer moms who I get along great with, and they will be drinking alcohol at the soccer field right next to me while I'm eating my meal prep food, and we'll crack jokes and have a great time. Like, you can accept
Yeah.
people for who they are and still have a good time with them and spend time with them and be friends with them. They don't have to have the same goals and mindset and, structure like you have to. And it's it's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. You just accept people for who they are, and just be happy. Like, be happy with yourself. I think at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Is like, if you're happy not being structured and doing, whatever, that's great. And then if the person next to you is like super rigorous and structured and like, has everything on their calendar, that's great for them. It's all about like just being
What
happy.
makes you happy? Yeah,
Hmm.
totally.
Yeah.
And I think that it's how you handle it too. I mean, if you're like sitting there and you're like, "Oh, I can't have this," and you're making like such a big thing of
Hmm.
it, then you're just going to be a bummer for everybody to be around.
Which
But
we need to do a separate episode for that.
don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. So if you are listening and you are relatively new to the sport of bodybuilding, and you are just feeling the negativity because it is so easy to get negative. It is 100% so easy to be like, oh, I got to do more cardio, or I got to go lift weights, or I can't eat that burger, or I can just keep going. You become such a dick to everybody around you, and like it's so
Nobody
annoying.
wants
And
to
then
be around you. Yeah.
no, and then you become a dick to yourself because you're like, is this even worth it? Do I even look good? Am I even like it's like this negative downward spiral, and it's just not good. And there's no reason for it. Like, you get to do cardio, you get to do this sport, you get to eat healthy, you get to make good choices, you get to do this. Like, it's something you get to do and you get to choose to do. If you're going to be a dick about it, why choose to do it? What is the point? Because you will quickly learn that people may start this for their physique, but they don't continue it for their physique.
Yeah, it takes a lot more to continue in this for a longer period of time than just like looking good. That's not the motivator over. I mean, initially probably, but I think, when people really develop a passion for it, to where they've got years and years invested in the sport and it's just something that they do. It's just a huge piece of their life. Like it's about so much more than that. And I think that it's mindset's so important. Like you can really go down negative tangents. And certainly when you get close to the show and you get, nervous because you can't control the scoring. You don't know who's going to show up, and it feels like a lot of pressure. It's exciting and it's a lot of fun, but it's been a lot of work to get there. So that might be weighing heavy on your mind. Also, you've got to get everybody organized before you have your show day. I mean, before I leave for a trip, I stock the pantry, I write out schedules, I make sure everybody knows where they need to be while I'm gone. And so all of that, because I mean, I work from home. I run the schedules and I keep everybody really organized, and I'm happy to do that for my family. But when I am leaving for something for myself, I want to make sure everybody's set up to be successful before I leave. And so, all of that, it can be very stressful. And then, you don't sleep that great when your body fat's really low. It's just you don't get into that deep, good, really restful sleep. You might a couple times a week, but typically you're not sleeping that well when maybe your belly's growling at bedtime. And I'm just talking about the last little bit. So yeah, it's natural to get a little bit hangry and whatnot, but at the end of the day, this is a choice, and it's a hobby. It's an expensive hobby. It's totally worth it, but you have to be considerate of the people around you, that they might be like, why are you doing this then? Like, if you're so miserable, then this, and then children too, like, I don't want my kids to be like, why are you putting yourself through this? Like, mommy's grumpy. I just don't want them to look at something that I'm working so hard for, but all along the way I bitched and moaned about it. And you can easily get yourself in that place, but you can just as quickly be like, complaining doesn't do anything anyways. So why even waste your energy on it? Like, don't even say it. I catch myself so many times wanting to say that I'm tired or that I'm worn out, and I just stop, because I'm like, I don't want to give into that energy, and there's nothing I can do about it anyways. Like, nothing's slowing down. I might as well just keep on pushing.
Yeah. I
So
like that 100% too. Like if my cardio goes up or something happens, is like I am just like, oh, okay. Like
yeah,
I'll just watch an extra little bit of my favorite show.
yeah,
And I just,
exactly.
simplicity is always my motto. Simplicity and calmness. Like it's just
You
food
are
is
so
simple.
calm. You really are. Because I'm like
I
feisty and short and like, and you're just like, everything's great. Everything
it's
is
fine.
fine. Everything's
It
fine.
I I don't know. Like I honestly can't explain it, but I just am. I try to stay like super mellow all the time. I think it's cuz I just really do enjoy the process. Like
Yeah.
I I enjoy I enjoy my food. I enjoy the cooking. I love watching my body transform. That's always been like the most
Yeah.
fascinating part of it. No matter at which prep I do or anything, it's always just really fascinating to see like how much control we have over something. And I think
It's cool.
that's it is. It's really interesting because we live in a world where we only have so much control over so many things. And
Yeah.
nutrition and how we move our body and working out, we have 100% control over it. And
Hmm.
it's fascinating what we can really do with it. Whether it's like changing our physique or it's for health reasons, not like you pre-diabetes is curable with food. Like it is. And it's
I
like
know.
there's so many metabolic issues that are very curable with food. There are so many,
Yep.
mental I don't want to say diseases or anything like that, but like there's a lot of things we can do with food that is just not emphasized or it's just not talked about. So I just always have found that fascinating. That's actually what took me to like the world of bodybuilding was first it was first the nutrition part of it. But
Yeah, I agree. I think that's why I'm still here in my 40s, because, I think there was a time when there was a lot of girls coming forward talking about how negative being in an extreme caloric deficit was for their physiques, and all of the things that the sport of bodybuilding had done. And I'm talking about just sort of like, this was probably like 4 or 5 years ago, when everybody was big on the breast implant illness, which is definitely a problem that and a disease that people have. But it was grabbing at straws, going like, "What's going on with me? Like, how come my body responded this way?" And really, honestly, I just think there wasn't enough knowledge about knowing how important it was to take breaks and how important it was to have a healthy off season. And you weren't seeing that. What you were seeing was this run of like 7 national shows on a quest for a pro card, and then their metabolism and hormones were trashed, and then a big rebound with not a good structured reverse diet or off season, and then a big extreme prep again. And that was going on so much. So this was again 4 or 5 years ago. A lot of you were seeing that on social media about the negative sides of bodybuilding. But I think now, because we're more knowledgeable about hormones, and more like looking at things like, hey, if your cycle is missing for a long time, that's not okay, and sort of preventing things from getting really out of control. So I forget where I was going with that.
well, to go off your like, I was one of those people. Like, I lost my cycle for like several months, and it took me, it took food getting it back and talking to different doctors and different
Yeah.
things. But I will say, like, this prep, I haven't lost my like, I'm completely regular. Like, everything's regular. Everything is
Well, but
fine.
I
My
think
hormone.
also you were smart enough to know, okay, I have lost my cycle now. It's definitely, my body is telling me something. And if you can't listen to your
Yeah,
body, then I think that's the bigger issue. And maybe now there's more awareness of that, like things you should be
yeah,
looking for, and knowing when you need to take a break versus like, ignoring all of that and pushing through, because I want to be continuing to do this, and seeing all the benefits and the health side of
yeah.
it, and I think that was what I was going to say about just being
Well,
in
and
my
I know,
40s and seeing the
yeah.
healthy benefits of it.
Well, and I know we speak a lot to like masters, obviously, because of, like bikinis after babies, but I also want to, I really want to preface, like, if you're listening and you're, even if you're younger, like in your, like your early, late 20s, and you may not have kids yet, but like you're listening because like you're getting ready for a show or getting ready to step on stage, understand, like, you're going to be in circles. Like you may not be as like, as kind of like we were talking about having like a cheer circle that's supportive. I have soccer moms and friends that are supportive. My journey did not start like that. Like it did not. I had family support, which was fine. You know, they were good. They're like, you do you. You know, when I started, you know, my first prep, I was 26, and but I did not have the friend support. I had quite a bit of questions. I was very much grilled. I was very much what do people say, like blacklisted almost, like.
Yeah.
So I decided to go on this health journey for myself, and my friends, the people I surrounded myself with, congratulated me. You know, they, you know, like, oh, good job, like you go to the gym. It's like, oh, when can you come to the bar? Like it was really that fast. It's like, are you done at the gym so you can come to the bar? Come to the bar. Come to
Yeah.
the bar. And when I decided to go into a prep, I obviously couldn't come to the bar, so I wouldn't do that. And um it was just like after a while, like I just never got invited to anything, and nobody wanted to do anything else. Like as much as I would be like, well, let's go do this or this or this, it's like nobody wanted to do that. Nobody would communicate with me. And then it would be summer, and I remember, I just won't forget this because it was shocking to me because I compare it to now. But I was competing in August and it was summer, and of course, so by this time I would, you know, I had abs. My abdominal section always, my abs come in pretty fast.
Uh,
I hold more fat around my thighs and glutes. But anyways, my friends, like, they didn't want to come to the pool with me. They did not want to hang out with me. I wasn't getting drunk at the pool on Sundays with them. I wasn't having Sunday fun day. Like that was just, you know, it. I would get just grilled. I would have a lot of questions,
yeah.
and I. It's not that I
That's a bummer.
lost it. It hurt. It hurt my feelings. Like it really did, and it was very upsetting. And I was young, and I was like, I love doing this. I'm having fun. I swear, I feel good. But like, I'm not like it's not being shown, I guess. So it's like, and
Yeah.
my friends that have been around me for so long aren't accepting of it. And I'm not getting, you know, invited to things, and I'm seeing pictures of them out, and I'm not, you know, included. And I thank God, like, I just thank everything. I thank God. I thank everybody. Because now I slowly grew out of that. I accepted the fact that I wasn't going to get invited to the things and let my feelings be hurt. I got older. I met more people because I got older.
Yeah.
And I have just been so blessed to make that decision to let those negative people go
Yeah.
and accept the people that have now came in my life who are just so amazing. They're just
Yeah.
absolutely like amazing. And
I think it can be hard though when you're in it to be able to see that that is really where your life is taking you and just kind of feeling like alienated from all of your friends. I think it's
yeah,
definitely hard when your friend circle is maybe not so health and fitness minded, and then all of a sudden you're left out because you're the fitness girly and nobody wants to invite you to brunch because you're not going to be drinking. And I think that's really hard. I've seen that in a lot of my clients where, they're just their friend group shifts as they start to prioritize their health. And I think that's okay. I think if people love you, then they'll support you and understand. And if they don't support you and they don't understand, I think you probably have the wrong friends. And that's hard, especially if they've been around a long time. And I'm not saying that people can't change and like learn to really understand. I've definitely had people come back around and go like, man,
yes.
when you were in the beginning of the fitness journey, I know I wasn't supportive, but now it's something that I'm really interested in. I'm sorry. And that's where they were at the time. But it's just like, if you are want to level up, you can't feel bad about, leveling up and then people not wanting to come with you when they have a chance to grow too. Anybody can grow and make better choices. And also I feel like this is what I was going to say earlier was that I'm not sitting around judging other people's food ever. I don't care what you have in your grocery cart if you're in line behind me. I don't care what you order at lunch. I'm not thinking about your food or what you're doing. People will always say that, like, oh, it's my cheat meal. I'm like, I didn't even notice you were eating cookies. Now I'm noticing because you said something about it. I'm really not.
I like
I
to
don't
flip
I
it.
don't think about it.
people will be like, "Oh, this is my cheat meal," or "Oh, I'm just gonna eat this," and I'll be like, "That looks delicious." Like I like to say something positive to them because it's okay. Like I don't think about it. Like
Yeah,
it's
we're not
okay.
judgy. Fitness people are not judgy people actually at
Uh-uh.
all. Like I'm not, I don't care what anyone else does, but you'll see people kind of just they look at you and then they're kind of like, "Oh, like this is not well for me." Or I'm like, "I don't care. I didn't even notice." And I hate that part of it because I don't want for people to think that, because I'm prioritizing my fitness goals that all of a sudden I'm like, harshly judging what other people are doing. Like I really don't notice at all.
Hmm.
I don't really. I got enough going on in between these ears with this time here. I'm probably like thinking about something totally random that isn't related to anything going on because that's how my brain works. But that's one thing where, I just feel like just because I'm making a choice to drink a Diet Coke or just water doesn't mean that I
Hmm.
give a shit that you had 7 beers. Have at
Yeah.
it. Have a good time. I've done that. I've been there. I've done that
Yeah.
plenty. Trust me. So,
Yeah.
no.
Well, Jillian, we're touching almost an hour. It's crazy
Not
when
to
we do
mention the
this.
40 minutes that we talked before we even went live on this
Yeah.
episode.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We definitely appreciate all of you guys listening and all the comments and messages you send us. If there is anything you ever want us to touch on, please, please feel free to comment